It was 5 months ago the Supreme Court justices heard oral arguments about whether or not the state should pay back businesses back for some of the financial sacrifices made due to Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham's public health order. There were roughly 20 lawsuits filed statewide by businesses asking for compensation, but the Supreme Court was in complete agreement that the public health order was an appropriate response to a pandemic outbreak and one that needed no compensation paid to affected businesses. Here with us to discuss it all are this week's Line Opinion panelists, starting with regular and attorney Sophie Martin, also a Line regular and also an attorney. We welcome back Laura Sanchez, and rounding out our Zoom roundtable is former state senator and Line regular Diane Snyder. And Soph, the underlying court question I want to start here was whether or not the restrictions placed on those businesses, things like capacity limits or reduced hours of operations, was that equivalent to a government taking? Why was this a legal argument in the first place?
Well, I think that there has been, and let me point out, there have been 3 cases that sort of circle around this issue of can the governor do the things that she has done during the pandemic? 3 cases, and the court itself mentions that in its ruling. This is the third. The issue here, I think, is that they're trying to find a way in. They're trying different theories, and at least at this point, they keep getting knocked down. The court, the threshold question here for the court was reasonableness. Are the measures that are taken by the governor reasonable in the context of the global pandemic? And that's actually a pretty low bar. What the court in its analysis is just looking for, was this arbitrary? Was this capricious? Was this, no relationship or just a spurious relationship to the pandemic itself? It's proving to be pretty hard for plaintiffs to overcome that particular question. Once the court determines, no, this makes a kind of sense, and it doesn't have to be perfect. You just don't really get to go much further. And that's what's happened in these cases, these 20 cases.
Yeah. Laura, interestingly, there's a quote here that the court found the broader interpretation favored by the business owners who filed, quote, would lead to an absurdity, unlimited liability authorized by the legislature. I thought that was kind of interesting. But, did these folks not have a legitimate gripe at some level? I know they tried in the lower courts, and the governor wanted the Supreme Court to just kind of figure this all out. But kind of take it from their point of view. What was the argument here?
So there's a law that was enacted in 2003 that permits compensation, and I'm going to mess up what the name of it is, but it's like a Public Health Emergency Recovery Act or something like that.
I think you got it. Yep.
Oh.
Response. That's right. R for response. That's it. Almost.
Anyway, right. So, and it allows compensation to certain medical establishments, buildings, for example, in the course of a public emergency. And the intent of that legislation, I believe, the senator might have been a senator then, even in 2003, or maybe very soon after. But in any event, the whole point of that, the purpose was to compensate any kind of buildings that had been commandeered, let's use the term commandeered, by the state. So had used the state under its what's called police powers, and these are all constitutional questions for anyone who's a budding lawyer or a current law student. You'll love this because you'll get this. But police powers, basically the state would use its powers for the public welfare. And they could take these buildings temporarily is the idea, but they would use them to deal with this public health emergency or this emergency of some sort. And so what the businesses said was, well, because of the language in there that it says or related property, or I think it says or any other property, they took that to mean any other business that had property should also be compensated. And so that was one of the legal arguments they were using. And of course, that was the part that Justice Bacon, Shannon Bacon, in her opinion, had written. It's their opinion, of course, but she authored it.
Sure.
Was that would lead to an absurdity? The idea that the legislature would have enacted something that said anybody can be compensated for any potential what would be a taking under that law, then the state would be on the hook for an unlimited amount. And so that was the absurdity they were talking about. Of course, the other part of that too was that, in a basic takings argument, you're basically rooting that again constitutionally under the Fifth Amendment as it applies to the U.S. Constitution, and then it gets applied to the state through the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. But the idea is that the state takes something without compensation,
Right.
right? Takes private property without just compensation. And they're arguing that having shut everything down costs them economically. And I think most people would not argue that. I mean, yes, there's been definite impacts, but I think what the court has said, and I think they're correct, and legally, that they're saying, well, but there was a higher reason, there was a bigger purpose, and that was the safety of people in New Mexico. Everyone, not just the businesses, business owners, employees, but just everybody publicly, to be safe from this disease.
Right, right. Senator, interestingly, the attorney representing a lot of those businesses are vowing to appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. Do you think it's inevitable? I mean, this question ends up there, given, there's other states going through the same thing. Are we going to be the bellwether kind of case here?
I think it's entirely possible. I think for me, there are two things. I'm not an attorney. I can understand the logic and the things that our ladies have shared with us and the things I've read. However, I look at the federal funds, like the Paycheck Protection Program, was a loan, but it was forgivable. So that means it was going to be a grant. And there are several others along that way that actually there is no return. It's either a grant or a forgivable loan. So the feds have said these regulations do cost, and therefore the businesses are entitled to some kind of compensation for them. At least that's how I see it. And then the second thing I've heard so much here in New Mexico is the fact that complete and total discrimination in what is applied to some stores and what is not applied to others. And it's like a perfect example, of course, and big argument is the big box stores were allowed to be left open.
Right.
But I have friends that own a small business. They were flat out closed for 3 months. And then they were allowed to go out on the sidewalk when a customer came and show the product then and sell. But it was a devastating crash to their bottom line. So I see that as, okay, if it's good for one, then it must be good for the other. And it boils down then to me and many people in small business is the governor made those decisions acting on this as the state. And therefore, they are entitled to compensation. And that's just looking at it from a different perspective. But they feel very much put upon and discriminated against. I haven't heard anyone argue about the health issue of closing and reducing the interaction of citizens.
Gotcha.
But on the other 2 points,
Senator, let me slip in. I'm under a minute here on this
Sure.
segment. Let me just get to Sophie real quick on something. The governor's office is, maybe appropriately so, making a case that they've rolled out lots of programs for lots of money for these businesses. And maybe that should be, where we should be going. Are they covered because of that or here? I mean, there's money available.
I'm not sure that the two are really related. And going to Diane's points, they may be related in our minds
Right.
and in the health of those businesses. But this ruling really hinges on issues of, is this a taking? They're finer legal points. And so I think that responding with, look at all this money that we've provided, that's not the response you necessarily win on in the court, but it is, I think, an attempt to give a compelling response in the public.
Good point
Can I
there.
just mention one quick thing?
Real quick, sure.
I know you're under 10 seconds here, but one thing about the appeal that the attorney Blair Dunn keeps saying he's going to take to the Supreme Court, you can't just take something to the U.S. Supreme Court.
Right.
You can appeal something to the state Supreme Court, and that's your appeal. That's your one sort of appeal. When you apply to the Supreme Court, U.S. Supreme Court, they have to issue a writ of certiorari. So basically, they have to choose to take a case, and they'll only do that typically they will only do that when they have multiple cases from all other states, all other circuits, really, and in some cases, states coming up, and it's a huge national issue.
Gotcha.
It's just sort of an individual case somewhere, they may choose not to take it, or they may wait until other cases perhaps come up and then deal with it.
That's
So
an
it's not
important
that
point.
automatic.
Yeah, it's important. I'm glad you got that in. That's an important point. I'll have to stop the clock there, I'm afraid. This group is back in a few minutes to talk about unidentified flying objects. They've been part of New Mexico's lore for decades, but a new Pentagon report says there's more the military can't explain than what it can. Before that, Laura Paskus and our land return after a quick break.